Welcome back, boys. Today we have one from Pauly Walnuts. I just quit my job. This video got over 400,000 views. Check it out.
All right, guys. So I just quit my corporate job. I've been there for 3 years, and I have zero backup plan. For some background, worked for a tech company in New York City, and I honestly never liked what I did. Basically, staring at data and optimizing it all day, right? So staring at a spreadsheet until it was literally burned into my retinas at night. And yesterday, I left the office to never come back. So you might be asking, why would you quit your job, especially with no backup plan, right? Because everyone always says don't quit your job if you don't have another one lined up. And I know the economy, the job market right now is definitely not great, but let's talk about it. So, long story short, a couple months ago, a big mistake was made on one of my accounts and they tried to pin it on me. I'm a lower on the totem pole. They tried to put the whole thing on me. And that didn't sit right with me because I had nothing to do with the mistake. It wasn't my mistake. So I stood up for myself. I decided I wasn't going to let these fake corporate people step on me for their mistake. So I defended myself, fired shots back, basically said it's your fault, not mine, right? And then after nearly 3 years of nothing but positive feedback, my new manager, who's the one that pinned this entire thing on me, all of a sudden had tons of negative feedback for me in the 2 week period following this mistake that she made, right? And she said I needed to turn things around. I'm not fulfilling the requirements of my role, and if I didn't, they would put me on a PIP, which is Performance Improvement Plan. It's basically corporate nonsense that is saying you're going to get fired, but we're going to do this before we fire you so we can protect ourselves. So, one thing about
Yeah, this happened with me too. It's like you piss off one of those female managers or like leaders and you're fucked. Like last job kind of made me quit. It got so fucking bad, man. I pissed off one of the like old uh like bro, I worked like 10 hours, 12 hours. I put in the fucking work, but no matter how much I did, no matter how hard I fucking worked, no matter how positive I stayed, no matter what I did, it just simply was never ever good enough. And I just got sick and tired of that bullshit, having to hear all that. And then they start talking like bullshit about like personal life and shit like that. And yeah, I was kind of in the same position here. Like if they want you out, they'll do whatever they must to get you out. These like yeah, and like nobody fucking took my side, and like the leaders of the company, they kind of just like when I told them the shit they said to me, they just kind of laughed it off. They were like, "Ah, it's no big deal, whatever the fuck. Like you'll be out, you'll be gone in 2 weeks. Like it doesn't fucking matter what you say." And that really like yeah, I didn't fucking like that.
me is, I'm by no means the smartest, but I am a hard worker, and I always have been. And here I'm being told I'm not working hard enough. So, for the last month or so at my job, I reached new levels of try hard, right? I'm working 12-hour days every single day, just being super extra with everything that I do.
Yeah, what I learned is like if they already have that idea in mind, it's like they kind of laugh at you for working hard. Then they're gonna get you out anyway.
Like going the extra mile, really just basically making it so she can't say I'm not doing my job. So then, a couple weeks ago, I got a call from my manager, and she puts me on the performance improvement plan anyway, despite the hard work, despite everything, right? So this is typical corporate nonsense. And what I learned about this corporate world, at my time in it so far, is it doesn't actually matter how hard you work.
Holy shit, that like reminds me now. Like what he's saying is fucking real because it's really just a game of like who likes you. It's like if you make the boss like you and everybody like you, you can kind of just do fuck all and stand around and do nothing, and you kind of get the credit and you're a good worker, you're this. But if you kind of like just there, do your fucking job, and go home, then that becomes a problem, right? You get like ostracized basically, even though you are the person that's fucking working.
In the corporate hellscape, right? Your input is genuinely irrelevant at most of these tech jobs, especially. Like, there's people that work their ass off and they'll put everything into their work, and they'll end up getting the same treatment as the people that are literally doing nothing, just coasting, maybe doing the bare minimum. And if your manager doesn't like you at these jobs, you're really cooked, by the way. I've had managers who love me, and it makes such a difference. Like, there's times where I was like, wow, this job's so easy, and I'm still getting great feedback, and then you get a new manager, and boom, you're cooked. So, and before anyone asks, a lot of people are like, why didn't you go to HR? Like, this sounds like an HR situation, sounds not fair. Here's another thing that I learned, right? HR is a total joke. They're solely there to protect the company. They have zero interest in protecting you. So, I went to them. They did not
Yeah, me too. I spoke with like the people higher up, and they just kind of smirked at me, bro. They had this like look, like I told them all the problems and all the shit that was going on, and they were like, hmm, hmm, okay, okay. It was like I sat there and in the meeting, and I was like, fuck, like I need to I need to get out. There's no coming back from this.
not help at all. The HR lady was, a remote worker who, I'm not going to say anything, but she had cats running all over in the background, and that should kind of tell you the vibes. I have nothing against cats, but you know what I mean, right? And she's
Yeah, we do know. Probably some crazy cat lady. Single.
just telling me how they want me to succeed, and they wouldn't have fired me if they didn't want, or they would have fired me if they wanted me fired. They want to see me succeed, which is total, bullshit. Um, so I have my PIP meeting, my PIP meeting, and I'm just hearing all this legit nonsense. And all these things that I need to do to keep my job, and how much they care about me, and it might not feel like it, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the meeting, I was just like, yeah, I quit. Like, this is ridiculous. All I can do.
Yeah, for me it was like just the vibes I got and the feedback I got was like just take it like a good boy. That's the kind of shit I got, and I was like, what? Hell no! I'm a grown ass man. I'm not gonna be treated like this.
Do is, show up and work hard. That's all I've been doing my whole time at this company. So I quit. I wasn't going to let them juice every last ounce of work out of me before firing me anyway. I ended it on my own terms. And every boomer that I know, including my own parents, mind you, told me that this was the wrong decision, right? Quitting with no backup plan is irresponsible. Sometimes you got to just, stick through it. But I feel like if there's anything I've learned, it's you got to do what feels right sometimes. Sometimes you feel it in your gut, and you got to follow your gut, right? So yeah, I just quit, guys. I'm going to, go travel for a little bit, going to Italy, Europe, things like that. I figured I'm only getting older, right? So luckily I've been able to save a ton of money up. I've been,
Bro, just if you got saved up money, just go to the Philippines, bro. It's cheap as hell there, and good vibes, good people.
I took the sacrifice of living at home for a couple of years, so it's not like I had bills to pay. Was saving a lot of money this entire time that I've been working here. And, also not gonna lie, a big part of this was like crypto, right? And I can make a separate video, but I basically made my salary in crypto in the past couple months alone. So, I'm sitting here getting shit on by these people that think that, because they have a little bit of power, they can just treat me like shit. And I'm like refreshing my crypto wallet, seeing like this crazy number, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm not gonna do this. I don't care if it might be irresponsible. Like, for now, I'm out of here, and I'll figure it out. I know I will, but this is not for me, clearly, right? So I feel like with my channel, I don't want to make it seem like I have it all figured out, because I don't, right? I'm still relatively young. I've definitely learned a ton of shit, but if this is any indicator, I'm still learning every single day, right? So I definitely don't want to come off as someone speaking from a higher ground, right? I'm right here in the trenches right now, but I'm enjoying every moment of it, right? And before you make a decision like this, if you're miserable at your job, I would say like you do need you don't want to completely burn any bridges. Like I really wanted to just say fuck you guys and just, move on. But, I went to people that I had positive experience with. I got reference letters and things like that. So, hopefully that will carry on if I need in the future. But the moral of the story here is there's no loyalty in corporate America, right? There's no human emotion. It's all fake. And to be honest, with AI, I'm not sure half of these jobs will be around much longer. Like, so many of these people are genuinely getting paid for nothing. Like, they're doing nothing all day and pretending to work. Like, that's a huge chunk of corporate America, right? And I could have stayed, collected a few more paychecks while they shit on me some more. But I stood up for myself. I quit. I ended it on my own terms. And when I did it, I wasn't sure it was the right move. It was just what my gut told me. But now, this huge weight is off my shoulder, right? I'm still young. I have money saved up, and I hated what I was doing, right? We spend so much time at work that if you really dread your job, you're going to end up dreading your life, right? So I just said, enough is enough. And I quit. So yeah, I will, say like I do live in New York City, so there are a ton of jobs available as opposed to other places. It's still a rough job economy. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a bad time to not have a job. But I do have, friends and connections where I can switch to another industry. I really don't think I'll go back into tech, but I just, I'm grateful that I have the chance to stop doing something that I dread, and I have a little bit of time, and luckily I made some sacrifices and some smart investments where I can actually focus on myself for a little bit, and that's what I'm going to do. So, even these YouTube videos, it's like therapy for me just talking to like you guys. I don't know, it's weird, but like this is something I enjoy doing. After years of doing something you hate, you start to realize, especially early on in your career, what you hate and what you enjoy. And, that's why I'm still grateful for this shitty job that I had for all these years. Even though I hated it, I now know what I'm not going to do with the rest of my life. And I now know how to navigate this corporate world that we're subject to. So yeah, guys, I don't want to encourage anyone to quit their job. Even, I will say, like, there was times I wanted to quit emotionally. Things were not going well, but I didn't quit. I stuck with it. This wasn't really as much as an emotional decision. It was more of a, I got to get out of here before they can my ass anyway. But I want to end this by saying, if you're in a similar situation where, you may have a manager treating you terribly, and it's just not fair, don't let it get to you, right? Because past couple months, like, I would work my ass off every day, and when you're doing that and no one's giving you even a thank you or a, good job on working so hard on this, it really gets to you, and you start to question the value of your work. And I really was at that point. And it'll mess up with your confidence and everything, right? So I ended up going to people that I had worked with in the past and being like, that just, was I this bad of a worker? And they were like, no, you're a hardworking dude. And I knew that. I've always known that about myself, but it's like I started to question it because this manager who was, making excuses for her own mistakes had me feeling that way. So yeah, guys, that's it for me. I think I'm gonna make a video on how I was able to basically.
Yeah, a lot of these managers like just piss me off, man. And it pisses a lot of other people too. It's like working under people that like don't give a fuck about you. Like, and they just shit on you for like no reason at all. HR is never your friend. I love how young people are rejecting this BS system. As a as a software developer at a large corporate bank, my job feels like 20% actual work and 80% dealing with bullshit. Yeah, it's a lot of like speak. Like I had no idea like working for like bigger companies was so much bullshit. I just thought, I come to work, do my job and go home. But I was naive. It was never that easy. You always got to like give more and more and more of your time and shit. Um, my mother always said, nobody quits a good job, they quit a bad boss. People get paid to do nothing all day, pretending to work. Nothing could be more true, bro. I used to look up to people in these jobs and dream of working there as an engineer. But after my first corporate experience, I realized it was all facade. Yeah. I mean, if you're like really like good with people and you just kind of suck up to the bosses and the managers and shit, you can straight up just do fuck all and get paid. And I'm sure there's like books and tactics on it too to navigate that bullshit. For me, it was like it was difficult because I didn't want to be like kind of just phony. I didn't want to be like fake. But I just didn't fit into that bullshit. Anyway, boys, what do you guys think? Do you have a similar experience? I'm sure many of you do. Anyway, boys, that's it for me. I see you boys on the next one. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Take care of yourself.